Hope all are well. Welcome to session 5 of the Unbreakable Voice. So excited to have you here. So many of us have been accessing the replays or actually live every single day of the class so far. And I just want to take this moment to say thank you so much. It's been a fun journey. There's been lots of information, lots of examples. Hopefully the light bulbs are turning on for each of us. And we're beginning to connect the things that we're learning to our bodies and our personal practice. Throughout this last week, we learned all about our larynx anatomy and how to make it work for us and not against us. We also took a solid inventory for every single one of our singable notes with the vocal map. We assessed our vocal starting points or our vocal weak spots. And the next day that we learned, session 2, we learned how to seal our folds so that air doesn't leak and cause us pain, awkward compensation points, loss of breath support. The next day in session 3, we learned about, I'm going to go ahead and unmute. I'm going to go ahead and mute people here. Hi, welcome. Okay, let me get back to my notes. Okay. The next day we learned about strength and how the vocal folds actually are composed of a muscle called the TA that is either being contracted or not contracted, and how much to contract for healthy efficiency. We also learned how to stack more strength into our notes so that they don't wimp out on us and separate when we need them to stay connected the most. That separation, again, is what makes a vocal crack. Then we learned how to take the vibrations that our bodies are already making and direct them into 4 different tone zones for acoustic resonance and power, how to isolate each of those places, and then how to make our optimal desired sounds. So today we're taking all of the sessions, all that powerful knowledge, and combining it into real life transformation along the passagios. Passagio just means break, where our voices used to decide to transfer the load mode into a lighter mode to avoid handling too much stress. So usually this transfer is not exactly our choice. It's a result of us trying to sing something heavier than we're capable of. But capability changes when we put in the work to grow our capacity. This is why when you decide to, you can erase your break. Your voice's breaks are natural, but they can be smoothed at your will when you want to apply the right approach. And that approach we are putting into culmination today. So we're just going to sing some sirens to get ourselves breaking naturally. I'm going to do everything I can not to smooth my break so that you can hear where the break is naturally in my own voice, okay? So this is me modeling for you, but you're more than welcome to do this on your own. Ooh. Okay, so what you're hearing, I didn't crack that time. I don't know if you were looking for it. I was trying to see if there was a natural spot that I crack. However, if I go nice and slow like that, sometimes my voice just already knows how to compensate the right load modes, the right resonator, and the right seal points to not break, which is an awesome vision for each and every one of you. If that's something that you want, that's something that you can have. Naturally, my voice has been trained over the years after I've spent a lot of time to do this to not have a break. However, I definitely crack from time to time when I'm not paying attention. But the good news is, if you did crack there, you can hear that your cracks are happening and that they are real. So that's a good thing. That just means that we have somewhere to focus. And we're going to find those break spots for you. So if you already know this from your vocal mapping, that is awesome. That's the point of the vocal map, to know your voice's strengths and your trouble spots. So I'm just going to go ahead and act like I broke, like my voice cracked, right around C5. Yesterday we worked with Julia on C5, which is where the natural passaggio in most women's voices are. So C5 is where I'm going to take it today. So you'll hear me play a C5 here. And I'm going to approach this break point. Here's my target, C5. I'm going to approach my break point a few semitones below it. And why why do we do this from a scientific perspective? Why are we going to focus a little bit lower than our breaks? The vocal folds are stretched at different lengths to produce different pitches. So the longer that they're stretched, often the harder that it is to keep the folds together. The density changes when the stretch is happening. This is why so many of us gap or we separate when we sing our highest notes. We end up cracking. But the more capable we are, the more we can marry the length of the folds with the density of said folds. And this is the science of erasing the break. How do we keep density strong, thick, and heavy without needing to always keep the length change at a minimum? We want to make sure that we can connect at a big stretch. So how do we take that from scientific theory to real life practice? We want to connect at a lower stretch, which is why I'm starting a few semitones under my break. So you'll see me start at A4. Jonathan is in here. He's our male student, and so he's going to take his break just a few semitones below. And in the chat, Jonathan, do you have the availability to tell us where your break is? And if you can just write in the chat if there's a spot that you would like me to kind of focus on for the guys, that would be totally welcome. All right, I'm going to get back to my notes. Zoom is so funny. I'm always like navigating away from stuff. Okay. Our first big weapon is in smoothing this break is using your top resonator, okay? Now the top resonator, does anyone know what the top resonator is from yesterday's session, or if you are taking my course or anything like that? What's the top resonator? Awesome. Nasal. Okay, great. Julia answered. We have the nasal resonator. Very good. I'm glad you were paying attention. We're going to use the nasal resonator. And why we're doing that is because, like yesterday I spoke about, the nasal resonator is such a small funnel of space in our heads that when we send sound there, it creates this natural back pressure onto the folds that neutralizes the sound waves, and it really assists us in what's called inertive reactance, and it makes the folds basically train a little bit easier, and we don't have to push quite as hard. So the nasal resonator is an amazing tool whenever we're working on breaks. And by the way, Jonathan put in the chat that his break is usually around D4, so I'm going to play that note for us. That's a perfect spot. Most men are dealing with a break between B and D4. Okay, so right around middle C, just like I spoke yesterday on. All right, we're going to take our nasal resonator and we're going to use it to smooth out the break today. Our second big weapon is the right vowels. Okay, so different vowels do different things to our hyoid bone. And again, I'm going to bring in my little larynx model, just like yesterday. Our hyoid bone is that top muscle or a top bone that pulls the larynx wherever we pull it. If we need to be pulling it or want to be pulling it, we shouldn't want to pull it anywhere. We should want it to rest neutral and be as calm and stable as possible. So whenever we talk about stabilizing the larynx, or you hear me say larynx stabilization, what we're really stabilizing is not even just the thyroid cartilage or just the folds. We're talking about this whole mechanism sitting down low and very comfortably inside the throat. And so we want to really work on lowering our hyoid bone. And one of the best ways to do that is to relax our tongue. And so different vowels move the tongue in different ways. So you're going to get A, E, A, O, ooh, and it's going to take the hyoid bone in different directions. We want the hyoid bone to be low and stable when we're working on our breaks. So what vowel do you think that we should use? I'd love answers in the chat. Should we use E, E, A, O, ooh, E, E? Yes, Jonathan's putting in E. I actually also am going to say E on this one. You can work on your crack in all sorts of different places as far as vowels go, but E is going to be a little bit easier to grab because it just kind of keeps your tongue really grippy. I don't know if that's the best way to say that, but your tongue gets to be under your control a little bit better. When you have A's and O's, the tongue is nice and lazy, which is really good, but it gets to be a little bit harder to access strategy And that's really just something that it depends on the person, I believe, but E has always been really easy in my opinion. Our third big weapon is going to be giving enough volume. And this might seem counterintuitive, but one thing I've seen in clients year after year is when we're attempting to sing over their breaks, they actually don't use enough contraction in their TA muscles, or which is the meat of the vocal folds, to fortify those cracking notes. So the notes are falling apart because the TA isn't quite used hard enough. It's not quite squeezed enough. So the notes fall apart because they're not quite strong enough, and their folds can't handle the change in density as we stretch them. Remember, the issue with the folds cracking is that the density change the density changes in the vocal folds when you're attempting to reach notes. So we want to maintain density as we stretch. So let's do just that. Let's stretch the folds. I'm going to actually work on Jonathan's range first, and then we'll work on Julia's and my range and Jordan's range after that. Okay, let's do some sirens. So we're just going to do some sirens, lowest note to highest note. Ooh, let's start on a hum. Notice I go really slow, really slow. Gives your voice lots of different changes as density, so the density can keep up with the change. Then a trill, ready? Brr, brr. Now let's do an ooh and then an e. Okay, so the ooh, we're going to try to let the cracks happen. Ooh. Now an e. Awesome. All right, so around that D4 place, Jonathan's not feeling quite well enough to sing for us today, and that's totally fine, but we are going to kind of hang out around there for any male students who are watching this back as a replay. Just want to make sure everything's accessible for all different people. So we're going to play this D4, and we're going to attack it from a little bit lower, just on a middle C, and we're going to sing this on an E vowel. So we're going to take it on the right vowel first. Ready? E. And we're going to move it around in the different places in our resonation. So we're going to go E, chest, bottom resonator, E. We're going to move it to the back resonator. E. This may expose a lot of weakness for a lot of people. The back resonator, because of the expansion, sometimes there's almost too much expansion, and then the folds don't have any back pressure to aid them in vibration. We're going to go to, actually, let's save the best for last, so let's not do that nasal resonator first. Let's do this one first, the front. E. Very bright, very, very strong, and very forward. E, lots of vibrations right here. And now let's go here. E. This should be the most effortless resonator for all of us. E, because again of those awesome back pressure vibrations. E. So Jonathan and any male students and any female students as well, sometimes females have two different passagios here and here. So we're going to do just four we're going to dance around on four notes right around that break area, and we're going to do it all on a nasal tone. Ready? And that's what we're going to target when we're working on fortifying our breaks. So if this is somewhere that on your vocal map you expressed writing a line instead of a check, you are going to want to take those four notes, and you're going to want to do that 5 times a day, 5 days a week. if you're a male, especially if that's where your break is, okay? And that right there, doing the things that we just did, targeting the right vowel, targeting the right resonator, and making sure that you are giving enough volume. So we're not going really soft with that one. We're going pretty recruited with our TA, pretty contracted. And then the fourth thing that we didn't talk about is seal. If we're making sure we're sealing there, which again, the nasal resonation and the vowel E really helps with seal. We are going to fortify and make that crack place in our voice a powerhouse of strength and connection. So we're going to make sure we're sealed. So let's use our hand guide and try those 4 notes again. We got to make sure that each of those spaces that I just mentioned are covered. So what were they again? We have seal happening. We have strength happening, meaning we're using at least a medium load on the vocal folds to make connection and true TA contraction happen. We then have nasal resonation, which is that tone zone. And then we have, what was the fourth one? we basically have to make sure that the density is staying nice and strong as the length is changing. If we can do that 5 times a day for 5 days a week, we're going to see massive growth right around those crack spots in our voice. Okay, so for the ladies, we're going to take it up to this spot in our voice. This is honestly one of the one of the most obvious places for women to really focus training on. And I love attacking the hardest things in the voice first. Because if you can attack the hardest things first, then all the other stuff usually follows as far as discipline and as far as making sure the rest of your voice is doing well. So let's grab these 4 notes. And what are we doing? We're doing an E vowel. We're doing nasal resonation, we're doing seal, and we're making sure that we are singing loud enough. Ready? Previously, if we weren't doing all of those different things to fortify that spot in our voice, it could have sounded a little like this. I'm trying really hard to make the crack obvious. We kind of have this compensation happening, and instead of true fortification, we have the different resonators kind of popping in there. I feel my pharynx popping in. I feel just kind of some cracks. I feel gap happening. And we can just really flip into a place of weakness. So when we try that again from that fortified angle, it's going to take out all of those compensatory things that our voice wants to do to make the note happen, okay? So let's try again. E vowel, sealed, nice medium contraction of the vocal fold, which means nice and loud, and nasal resonation. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Now, here's where we take what we just did, which is like, wow, that worked. That was great. That was easy. I can do this. Oh my goodness. You're proving to your body that there is evidence of success so that evidence turns into confidence. I have so many students who talk about wanting more confidence. I just want to sing with more confidence. Confidence comes from evidence. The best way to show yourself that you can do something in the future is to have done it before in the past. Which sounds a little counterintuitive, right? Like, well, if I could do it, then I would feel like I can do it. But the truth is, if you can take these concepts and make them happen in a less high stakes environment, like in a studio with a trainer, in a group coaching call with other people who are voice training, and in your own practice on an everyday basis, if you can make these things happen in a lower stakes environment, your body actually has memory, and your body will remember that, oh, this is something that I know how to do. And actually, I know where to place these notes. And if you can even tell, it's difficult for me to experience cracks anymore because my body has such a strong memory now of how to fortify those spots and how to keep myself connected, resonating in the right spaces, and how to contract with the right amount of pressure. So you'll see that your body will start to take on a new identity around old trouble spots, which is a really beautiful thing. It really helps unfold this new mindset when it comes to singing. Like, I am good at this. This is not something that I struggle with anymore. And those old problems really become something in the rearview mirror. And it's just a beautiful thing to witness. I've seen clients overcome uh, so many problems that they used to have in the past with true just muscle memory. Muscle memory is the best way we can fortify and create confidence in our bodies and brains. All right, my friends. So that was me taking apart like the male passaggio and the female passaggio with seal, strength, tone, just proper recruitment of the voice. Now, Jonathan, I'd love it if you would come on really quick. And I just have a few questions for you because you are inside the course. And so I know a lot of people would love to know just a little bit more about your experience. So let me see if I can unmute you. Oh, good, good. And are you able to take on video?
I'm not right
Right
now where
now
I'm
where
at.
I'm at.
Okay, let me see. Would you like me to put you on video? Here.
Oh,
Oh,
sure.
sure.
Okay. I am just learning how to do all this. There we go. Hey, Jonathan. Thanks so much for being here today.
Absolutely. I'm
Absolutely. I'm
stoked to be
stoked to
here.
be here.
Yes. So, would you like to share just some of your experience for anyone here who might be considering working with me? I am newer at teaching online, but I've been teaching privately for so many years. And so, really, it's something newer for a lot of people to start taking voice lessons from a traditional approach to more of a course or a membership approach. So, what advice would you maybe give someone who's like, I don't know if a course would work for me, or I don't really know if online would work for me? What would you say to them?
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
absolutely.
I
I
think the
think the
first thing
first
I
thing
would
I would
say
say
is
is
jump
jump
in,
in,
right?
right?
There's
There's
nothing that
nothing
can
that
be
can be
said
said
for
for
um,
um,
spending money
spending money
on your
on your
voice,
voice.
I guess. I guess I would
I would
say.
say,
Um,
um,
where your
where
heart
your
is,
heart is
your treasure lies.
rides.
And
And
so if
so if
you
you
put
put
money into
money into
something, you're
something, you're
naturally
naturally
going to be
going to be
inclined to
inclined to
dedicate the
dedicate the
time to
time
it.
to it.
And
And
that's the
that's the
first thing.
first
If
thing.
you're
If
just
you're
looking
just
at
looking
stuff
at
on
stuff on
YouTube, you're
YouTube,
not
you're
going to
not going
grow.
to grow.
Yes, I've been there before. I've taken many YouTube rabbit trail, and you realize how many differing opinions there are. You realize how much fluff there is, a lot of misinformation out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like you said, you're just not invested. You're not invested because you're like, this is all free, so it doesn't really matter. I don't really know if I'm ever going to implement this anyway. So, what was it like before we started working together for you? What was
Yeah.
your voice
Yeah.
training experience?
So
So
interestingly
interestingly
enough,
enough,
every
every
teacher you
teacher you
talk to, the
talk to, the
first thing
first
that
thing
they're
that
going
they're
to
going
talk
to
to you
talk to you
about
about
is
is
your
your
diaphragmatic
diaphragmatic
breathing,
breathing,
on how
how
important
important
breathing is,
breathing is,
which
which
obviously it
obviously
is,
it is,
and we
and we
wouldn't be
wouldn't be
alive.
alive.
But
But
for
for
me, the
me, the
challenge was
challenge was
never
never
really
really
breathing.
breathing.
I've
I've
always
always
struggled with
struggled with
pushing
pushing
too
too
hard
hard
and
and
not
not
understanding
understanding
how to
how to
balance
balance
load
load
and how
and
to
how
really
to really
feel
feel
to
to
sing
sing
properly.
properly.
And so
And so
that's
that's
every time I'd
every time I'd
sing, I'd
sing, I'd
walk
walk
away with
away
a
with a
completely
completely
thrashed voice.
thrashed
It
voice.
would be
It would be
terrible.
terrible.
And
And
and so
and so
working with
working with
you has
you has
really
really
taught
taught
me
me
how I'm
how I'm
actually
actually
losing a lot
losing a
of
lot of
air.
air.
And so I'm
And so I'm
pushing so
pushing so
hard
hard
because
because
vocal
vocal
folds
folds
aren't
aren't
sealing.
sealing.
And so if
Mm.
And
I can
so if
get
I can
those
get those
vocal cords
vocal
to
cords to
seal, I don't
seal, I
have
don't
to
have
sing
to
as
sing
hard
as
as I
hard as I
want.
want.
Awesome. Yeah, the seal concept I think is just mind blowing, life changing. I'm so glad to have connected with you on that. So now that you're in it, you're working with me on a regular basis. You've taken some of the training modules. You're connecting with me in private sessions as you go, which is something I offer as well. Um, are you enjoying that? And how could you see yourself continuing and doing that as you grow? Is it kind of something like you learn it once and you check it off? Or is it one of those lifelong things? How do you feel about that?
It's definitely a lifelong thing. I think most people, they want a quick solution, which just in life, that's not a real thing. And so, one, it's been great working with you. I'm so to work with you. There's been terms and things that I've heard of before, but no one has really been able to explain them to actually make sense the way that you do. So that's phenomenal. And so I think continuing to work with you will absolutely be on my to-do list.
Hmm. Well, I appreciate that so much. I think specifically one of the biggest hurdles for many people before they take on any kind of like voice training investment is they're really locked into this old model of like needing to be one on one with a trainer. And that is, there's something to be said for that. It's a beautiful thing to do that. The drawbacks really, there are a lot of drawbacks, and I think it's really interesting speaking with you specifically because you and I started as one-on-one lessons, and you've now transitioned to the course model and the kind of walking through some trainings. Have you enjoyed the ability to review videos and have PDFs to kind of keep you practicing and have accountability that way, as opposed to seeing me for an hour, going for 2 weeks, and then seeing me again? Like what was the difference between kind of making that transition of we were traditional one-on-one student and teacher and now we're doing a membership? What's the difference for you?
Yeah, that's a great question. And you probably remember months ago when I first met you and I said, I'm leery of doing, something online and why I wanted to work with you was for that personal meeting. And to be honest, I'm surprised at the value of having the class. Like I'm really blown away. I feel like I get more feedback using the tools, using the videos than I was able to get when we met every 2 weeks. Not that you weren't giving me feedback, but the ability to go back and watch a video, the ability to pull out my notes, the ability to have um, the checklist of the practice. That has made a huge difference because I can go back at any time versus, maybe I would have to text you and say, hey, I need help on this. And, you're busy with your life, you've got your family and your kids, your husband. So the ability to just go back and watch a video has been awesome.
I love that. I love that. Yeah. I think especially with the voice, there's so many terms, exercises, illustrations, and concepts that you feel like you get in the moment when you're with your teacher, right? I totally understand. And then you walk away and you've written down all these words that aren't normal words in normal vocabulary, like fry on an ah and then do a wah and then, and you lose a lot of that, like that connection to the concepts because that person is not right there with you, right?
Yeah.
So then having something to look back to, yeah.
Even when you're meeting or when we meet at times, both of us are being cognizant of the time because you've got either another student or I have to, go back home to pick up my daughter. And so even when I'm writing those notes, there's a good chance that I'm messing up multiple things.
I totally get it. Yes, yes. And here's the thing is we can only be in one place at one time, right? And so I really feel passionate about the online model because I'm able to serve people at any time that meets their needs. We were lucky enough to be able to find a time on an afternoon of a weekday to get together, which is when I'm available as a busy mom too. And how many people can break away from their lives between 2 and 5 on a weekday, right? Which is when most voice teachers are available. They're available during the daytime because that's when they work, right? So many people, students, parents who are waiting for their kids to go to bed, people who have jobs all day, they're really looking for a different option. And so I'm just really glad and blessed to be able to deliver all these things that I know the Lord has put on my heart to share with people and not need to do it in a context that doesn't fit people. So I just so appreciate you, Jonathan. I've seen you grow in strides since we just started a few months ago, and I'm so proud of you for being so disciplined. I think something that goes without saying is that when you do an online model of coaching, you really do have to be motivated and you have to be the type of person who will put in the work. And so I'm not really interested in working with just anyone. I'm interested in working with students who put in time and practice and truly want to see progress, because that's the most fulfilling work for me as a teacher, to see people like you who have taken all those concepts and actually made the change in your real life. So, just last but not least, can you give me some real life examples of you singing and using the concepts and how your real life context has changed? When do you sing? How do you sing? What's your relationship with singing, first of all? And then have you seen any of these at application?
Yeah, absolutely. So I sing, semi-professionally. I lead worship at my church, and I've
Yeah.
been many years. And so for me, what I've noticed is now that I've been doing this for a few months, uh, I can start to notice when I don't have a seal. And sometimes I'll be singing and I won't be sealing, and all of a sudden I'll seal without even having to think about it. But I notice something change, and so where when I started, I was not always consistent when I was sealing, I wasn't. But now it's more, I'm more cognizant of that. But even better is I'm starting to do it without having to think about it.
That's that muscle memory we were just talking about.
Hmm.
That's wonderful. I love it. And the more that you're not having to think about it, the more your mind is freed up to worship, to enjoy the experience of singing, to lead others, and then just to get better in other areas of singing, right? Because seal, I mean,
Absolutely.
if we can master seal, that's like this foundation, and then we can grow in all of these other areas that before we were kind of just trying to survive.
That's exactly what I was doing.
Awesome. Well, me too. Me too. Well, thank you so much, Jonathan. I really appreciate you joining us today. I'll go ahead and take you out of the hot seat.
Absolutely.
Have a great day.
You too.
Okay. All right. Well, hopefully, through Jonathan's experience, you were able to see how a potential working relationship with me could grow you in your singing journey. And I'm going to pull back up my notes. And I would love to answer any questions. If you want to email me, if you want to ask some questions in the chat, I know we've got a few people live with us today. And what was it like before you took this week and invested in learning? And what do you take away? Are you loving the real time energy that we have in class? Are you enjoying this? And is this something that you would take away with you and start employing in your real singing? I would love to know, whether that's on our Facebook group, the Voice Builders Hub, or whether that's in the chat, or whether you just want to email me and just say thank you. I just appreciate you sharing anything that was helpful for you so that I can continue to offer these free resources and truly serve the community of singers around the world. Okay, Julia says that there were some really helpful concepts that I've shared, and she's saying thank you. I appreciate you. So, I wanted to let you know how you can even have a deeper interaction that's more focused on your personal goals without us needing to be in the same room. It's the Voice Builders membership. It's a hybrid model of coaching. So, there's training modules, PDFs, audio exercises, practice logs, plus a new element that I've never included before: weekly live coaching calls. So, this is better than traditional one on one coaching because you have my full attention without needing to be available during my studio hours. The modules are there for you whenever you need them. The content is reviewable and rewatchable. The live coaching gives this extra connection piece that was really missing with my previous offering of the course. If you've been with me for a few months watching my journey as I started Voice Builders as a business outside of just a one-on-one studio model that I used to have, you've seen that I used to offer a course, and it was an 8-week thing. And it was training videos and all of those things that I mentioned earlier, but minus the weekly piece of meeting together. And I've added that weekly piece of meeting together, and I've extended the time that I walk with you through your journey, because what I realized is when my course students were doing the course, they loved having all of the trainings available and ready to go. But they're real people with real commitments, and it takes them some time to walk through each module. And I want to make sure that I'm keeping up with your pace as a student. I'm not expecting you to just consume the material and your body hasn't had quite a chance and your brain hasn't had enough of a chance to keep up with it and actually practice it to the point of muscle memory, like we were talking about. So I extended the time. It was originally just an 8-week course, and you would always have the materials available during those 8 weeks. But I want to extend it now to 4 months, 4 full months of access to me and my intentional focus on you. And that, by the way, is negotiable. So after the 4 months, we can talk about continuing and working together. But there's a minimum of 4 months where a singer really needs to transform. The voice is something, it's a muscle, right? And so it's not only just a muscle that's like a personal training function, but there is a mindset shift that needs to happen in every person that invests in their voice. And that's what I'm here to offer you, is not only just these physical exercises to pump out some actual routine and get you practicing, but to help shift your mindset to encourage you, to pull you through any negative trauma or association with bad habits and different labels that we've put on the voice in our vocal journey. I've realized that it's almost like vocal therapy that people need on top of vocal exercise build. So I've really come up with this comprehensive membership that is a whole new level of access to me and a whole new level of you growing, okay? So the live coaching gives that extra connection piece that was missing with my previous offering of the course. I used to throw in 2 private sessions that were a half hour each, just at 2 different times during the course, which was helpful for a lot of students. But I really believe in a weekly accountability and access to your trainer, someone that you can come to weekly to keep you on track and keep you growing. And so weekly accountability so you don't fall behind, you don't feel stranded. You will have real answers for your real questions every week, and they won't just be something you can type on Facebook or direct message me. It's something that in real time I can hear you, I can listen, I can really work on anything that I'm analyzing or diagnosing in your voice. We can work on specific song strategies, specific song sections, concepts you may have questions about. And then these calls will be personal, but they won't always be individual. And why is that, you ask? Because I believe in the power of watching others learn, seeing others succeed, seeing others grow, and growing as a team of voice builders. So through the years I've spent doing one-on-one personal coaching, I've seen some limitations on clients who are learning in a vacuum. We get together, they forget how to phrase their questions. There can be some definite wasted time doing guided practice when they could be doing certain things on their own. And they don't understand why singing in front of me is so much easier than singing in front of others. And the pressure's on to glean that maximum amount of learning in under an hour because they have my full attention. It's better than not having a coach at all, but the growth that someone can experience when they see the wins of others is such an accelerator. It's like you're not only getting your personal learning journey, but you're getting the bonus of all of their personal learning journeys as well, added on top of your questions and the answers and ideas that we come up with during our live coaching call. So think about it. When a classroom gets popping with questions and ideas, it's so full of life and energy, and that just doesn't happen always in a solo tutoring session. Hasn't someone else ever asked a question that you wish that you had asked, that you never realized you needed to say because you didn't know how to put it into the terms that they did? Or when another student asks a question you've never had before, but now you have to know the answer to that question. So this is why I believe in learning alongside other singers, exploring your voice with the added layer of being heard by other people, which is a big key in unlocking that vocal confidence that we all want. And you just can't get that with traditional coaching. You know that your coach is your biggest fan and you know that they are just one person listening to you. But when you have a few other students, and right now I have about 15 people lined up to do the membership just this month. And so you would be adding yourself to that group, plus any potential new enrollees this week. you would have all of their feedback and all of them listening. And so it really adds a layer of complexity that is so good for building neural pathways of confidence. I'm going to sing in front of 15 people. They're going to hear me. I'd better show up. I'd better work in the concepts that I'm learning, as opposed to there's really no pressure. No one's here listening to me. There's nothing on the line. I have no nerves. And then when you transition into a place like being on stage in front of a group of people, hundreds of people, sometimes you're like, oh, how come I can't do what I could do when I was by myself? There's um, a whole thought process there that we can really click into when we're in a group that we just cannot click into on a one-on-one basis. So we all have that same goal, vocal transformation. And because I believe in it so much as the new approach to vocal training, I am offering an incentive to the first 3 people who enroll in the membership. And I am taking $200 off the total. So here's the info for the membership. I'm putting the link in the chat right now. And I'm also going to be putting it in the Facebook group. And I'm really excited for, if you are one of the first 3, for you to gain access to the full Voice Builders membership experience just for $200 cheaper than what everyone else will be paying. I call that a huge win for making up your mind in a timely manner, investing in your voice this way before anyone else gobbles up that opportunity. And I know a lot of you have been asking and wondering about enrolling. Many of you said March is a good time, April is a good time, and that's when you want to get started working with me. So if you've already been wanting to start, here's your big flashing sign to do it today and be one of the first 3. You'll get that bonus. So this is something that I wish was available when I was learning those earlier parts of my vocal journey. So it's something that I crafted with your best method of learning and growing in mind. So whatever you decide, taking action from our class today, right along those breaks, using all the things you've learned this week, is going to be key in driving your vocal results forward. My goal is to help you implement in real time so that I want you to take a few minutes today or tonight to apply what we've covered and then come back and talk to me. We can do a quick connect call. We can do 10 minutes of just assessing your voice. I can hear you. I can listen to your concerns about your voice, listen to your goals and your big blue sky ideas, and get you on a path of improvement today. If you are just loving this and you want to know how we can work together, go ahead and book that call. I'm going to go ahead and put it in the chat right now. And if you want the link to that and for some reason don't know where to find it, just email me and I will definitely get that to you. Or, reach out to me on Instagram, Facebook. You have the Voice Builders Hub ready for you at any time. And I'm looking forward to connecting with you and where you can get started as an official voice builder. I think that's where I'm going to wrap up today. I really appreciate all of you joining me, and I hope this has been helpful. It's been a free live experience, basically free voice lessons for an entire week. I've given you 5 hours of my time, and it's really just trying to show you how much there is as far as where you can grow in your vocal journey. Things that you never have heard of, hopefully, and things that will help you get that much closer to the singer that you want to be and truly build your voice. That's the passion and purpose of my life. And so I want you to know that I'm here for you. And whether that's in a capacity like this, in a free masterclass, and that's the best way for us to work together right now, that's the best fit for you, or there's an even better fit for me to be more personally focused on your vocal journey by working together, whether that's private lessons or whether that's in a membership. So thank you so much for just giving me your time. And I'm just really going to hope and pray that this works really well for you in your singing journey and that God blesses you. Have a wonderful weekend, everyone. It's good to see you. Have a great weekend.